It's me, your Uncle Cooper, and this is a Cooper tire. Great tire. Now, it's not going to cook you a pot roast, but it will stop when you hit the brakes. And these truck tires can stop on average 10 feet shorter than other tires on a wet road. See, the trick is in the grip, and these tires grip like my handshake. Look, I'm your uncle. I love you. I want you to stop when you need to. Doesn't matter if it's for a red light or a duckling. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! And never start something you can't stop.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
Poor visibility, lack of data, antiquated systems, so many roadblocks in your supply chain on your way to the finish line. Just like in racing, the right data can give you a competitive edge. SURGERE is here to save your supply chain, utilizing IoT technology, layered with high-fidelity data to create actionable insights and drive success across many aspects of your organization. Now that's a winning idea. SURGERE, intelligent supply chain through IoT.
Welcome to Road to Indy TV. Download the app to watch live and get access to exclusive content all season long.
Green, green, green. They're going to go 3 wide.
And Andretti Carr moving up here in Mid-Ohio.
Turn number 4, side by side through the corner.
Renus BK and Robert McGinnis, a dead heat at the exit of turn number 2.
Side by side, and Oliver Askew scores.
Listening into race control, get ourselves our call to fire these engines. I believe they'll bring them up here and shut them off, and then we'll fire them back up. So as you can see there on the screen now, drivers working their way up here onto the front straightaway.
Rob, these Indy Pro 2000 cars make it about, what, 275 horsepower thereabouts?
Right around 270 horsepower for these cars. And they're going to have to obviously manage it here to make sure they keep it on the racetrack.
Yeah, wheel spin will be an issue for sure.
Listening in on race control to get the call to head down to pit lane. We have Roger Ritterbeck, one of our guests from SURGERE, going to give us the call to fire here. You can see the teams working their way back up to their drivers as well, making sure that the belts are tightened down nicely. It's going to be an interesting run for these drivers. I don't know that many of them have had much seat time here in this particular race car in these wet weather conditions. You know, maybe through some testing, but we have not had any official events here yet in 2020 with wet conditions. So this is going to be an interesting opening lap. Those of you who are around the racetrack, get ready to enjoy this one. So listening into race control, as I said, we are currently on a hold right now for conditions, and really not surprising because we were set to go with dry weather, and the rain just kind of came in probably, John, 5 minutes, you think, maybe not even 5 minutes before. I think we were supposed to roll these cars out.
Correct.
So that means the race officials heading out onto the track and safety vehicles, seeing if there's any puddling. They have to make sure this track is ready to go.
Absolutely right. So it looks like they're going to take a little bit of extra time here to make sure we've got good things. There's a little extra time built into the schedule, so we should be okay to still meet our time certain schedule for the IndyCar qualifying. Next thing on the agenda at 10:15.
So, yeah, we do always build a bit of a window in. Normally, if we have a couple of yellows, we'll always say, hey, there's a 45-minute window, but we're going to run a 25-minute race. We get that on a regular basis here as well.
But the rain has definitely slackened off from what it was just a few minutes ago. So if there is any puddling or rivers running across the track, they will be subsiding hopefully just a bit. And again, as we saw the weather radar, this is a relatively narrow band of showers moving through the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course just now, and should not last too long. And the weather forecast for this afternoon is for partly cloudy skies, similar to what we had yesterday. We had rain come literally as the checkered flag flew yesterday evening for the end of the first of our two Honda Indy 200s here this weekend, and rain overnight, and obviously this squall coming through just a few minutes ago. So we're taking just a little extra time to give the track a chance to stabilize, and then we'll send these drivers out. And Rob, you said this is the first time they've raced in the wet.
Yeah, we have not had a wet weather race. Obviously, a couple of ovals we wouldn't have run anyways, but no, we had a really beautiful weather at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway last Thursday and Friday for a standalone event for both these USF 2000 and Indy Pro 2000 categories.
Rob's checking in with race control to get the time for the command to get the engines fired up and get these drivers out on their parade lap. Daniel Frost, on the strength of his second place finish yesterday, moved up one spot in the points as he moved around Artem Petrov by 1 point into third in the standings. Petrov only a point back for Juncos Racing, so he'll look to perhaps take that position back today. Manuel Suleiman, the biggest winner, he moved up 2 spots in the standings, up into 6th position. 26 back of Hunter McElroy in 5th right now. Parker Thompson with that disappointment. Again, looked like he had a win in the bag, and the power plant developed an issue, and he came to a smoky stop just past turn number 1 from what appeared to be a pretty comfortable lead. But lots of racing left to go. There's still 15 drivers mathematically in the hunt for the points championship.
Well, this particular program has been unbelievable because of so many winners, as you had said. We've had 7 different winners this year, and it's not normally what we see, of course, in the Indy Pro 2000. Normally 4 or 5 different winners on a year, but man, 7 different winners this year. It's been amazing. There's still a couple of drivers who could end up with 9 or more winners here in the 2020 season, and it's been a very interesting run for sure. As you said, Stingray Robb able to work his way to the points. A heartbreak yesterday for Parker Thompson. He was out front, took the lead from the outside of the front row, and then was able to even lead away from a yellow flag, a restart as well. Very comfortable with the car, and then had the engine let go there past the halfway point, and I think that would have been really big for his championship, kind of fighting his way back forward again. It was a very dejected Parker Thompson yesterday. We'll see what he's able to do here today.
It was great to have Braden Eves in the booth with us yesterday as well. He took the win here earlier this season at Mid-Ohio and finished second on the oval. And, you know, he's obviously healing up from that really scary incident that he had at Indianapolis. And he looks good, is in good spirits, and realizes, you know, his season's done. But he's anxious to get back into the cockpit next year.
And you have to remember that we're talking to him within, you know, really a week of when this has happened. So you think of the amount of stuff that goes through a young driver's head a week after an incident like that. The damage to the race car was significant. The damage to the driver itself obviously is significant. He even said yesterday it's going to be a couple months worth of recovery, a couple of fractures in his neck, one of the bones above his eye. So he's got to have time to be able to get back to where he needs to be. But he believes he's going to be back in a race car before the end of 2020, which would make sense to start testing for next season. And I think the GoFundMe page that they put together, Graham Rahal stepping up, a lot of the IndyCar drivers were retweeting that, and just even after the incident, tweeting their best wishes. But a lot of IndyCar drivers and teams have put some money into the GoFundMe. They want to see a young driver like Braden Eves get an opportunity to get back on the racetrack. So we're hoping that we're going to see him back at Indy Pro 2000, because I think that anybody you talk to would have said, hey, you know what? Braden Eves is one of the primary championship contenders to win this title. He was having some up and down races, but very comfortable with his team at Exclusive Autosport. They were able to win, as you said, here at Mid-Ohio. And I think he figured he was going to come back and potentially get a couple more. And then that really solid run at Worldwide Technology Raceway where he passed on the outside of turn 3 and 4 to take second place in the final lap. It was thrilling. So, again, one of these situations here, when you get the amount of rain that fell so quickly here, John, as you know, when the rain falls hard like that, it doesn't get seeped into the ground and really starts rolling across the racetrack. You can see on the track here now our official Road Indy pace car circulating around, and they're reporting back on each lap, every corner, back to race control. Are there any streams across the track? Is there any concerns about puddling? Streams primarily the number one reason, because you can see there some of the water coming in.
Yep.
When drivers start to roll hard to these corners, you'll get that aquaplane effect. And the Cooper rain tires are solid, but there's only so much you can do if you got a lot of standing water.
Exactly right. And there are a few spots around the track that will be an issue, and drivers who are familiar with Mid-Ohio or who have raced here before will certainly know, those places to look out for. But I wouldn't be surprised if they do two pace laps. They frequently do that in wet weather conditions like that to give the drivers a chance to sight just where the wet spots are. So when the green flies, they'll be able to negotiate as best they can. But Mid-Ohio has a reputation of being a pretty slick racetrack in the wet. And
I've driven it in the wet. It is not easy.
Exactly.
Because of it, what makes this racetrack such an incredible track is what makes it so treacherous in the rain.
Yep.
It's the off-camber corners where you're trying to, when you're rolling back on power, we'll see drivers kind of get a little bit of entry oversteer coming in because you're off camber. All the way through 7, 8, and 9's all off camber.
Right.
Well, when it's wet, man, the car wants to go around so quickly.
Yep.
It's let's see what our drivers. I'm really excited actually to see what our guys can do.
Yeah, I do too, because it really does separate the men from the boys and the girls from the women. It is absolutely a track where you need to mind your P's and Q's and be careful. It's all about being smooth, and that's why I asked the question about the horsepower these cars have. I mean, breaking the rear end loose will be very easy. Wheel spin will be easy to have, so they'll have to really modulate the throttle. We got word on the Corner Worker Network that we're about 3 minutes away from the command. So
awesome. There you
sounds
go.
like the track is improving enough that we should be good to go. The rain has slacked off to just a drizzle here on the front straightaway, so hopefully it won't get any worse, and we'll be able to get this race underway.
Yeah, I'm hearing from race control just 2 minutes from the command to start these engines here on pit lane. And again, this will be a very interesting event. As we said, drivers have not yet been challenged by the wet weather conditions. And again, as John has just alluded to, this track particularly treacherous because of just the off-camber corners, some of the places where you're really trying to apply power and that roll onto that power. It doesn't take much to get that car to loop around. And let's just say we're probably going to see a couple of spins. We'll see how it all shakes down. But again, as I said, very close to getting things underway. Again, it will be Manuel Suleiman starting on the pole position. Stingray Robb will start on the outside of the front row. Hunter McElroy alongside Parker Thompson on row number 2. Daniel Frost and Devlin DeFrancesco on row 3. Colin Kaminsky and Moises De Oliveira on row number 4. Corey Enders and Antoine Camo on row 5. Artem Petrov and Bob Kaminsky on row 6. And Jacob Abel and Charles Finelli scheduled to start on the final row 7. A lot of talk going into the drivers right now. Havel. 1 minute in holding, I'm being told. I got me in one ear and I got race control in the other ear. So there is some standing water on the racetrack right now. So they are instructing the drivers when they do get around the racetrack to make sure you have a look where that standing water is. We'll get the rain lights on the back of the cars as well. Hey, and that's one of the reasons why you want to qualify well, John, because the spray from the back of these cars is significant, and if you're behind, it's tough to see.
Absolutely. If you want a real lesson on the aerodynamic efficiency of these cars, watch them in the wet, because that water gives you a good visualization of what the air is doing all the time, and the air under these cars and up over the rear wing and the rooster tails these cars through will be very impressive. And that really indicates the speeding up of the air underneath the car, which is what generates that low pressure area that sucks the car down to the ground.
Indeed, waiting on race control to give us the call. We are 1 minute and holding to fire up these engines and get things underway for the second race of the Indy Pro 2000 program here at Mid-Ohio. USF 2000 still to come. That race will settle in between IndyCar qualifying and the second end of the doubleheader here at the race here for the IndyCar Series at Mid-Ohio. Yesterday, a solid victory for Will Power. He was absolutely ecstatic afterwards when I saw him in the paddock. Just be able to notch that win that he's been trying to get. Number one here at the racetrack, but to get one here in 2020. He's had some ups and downs, and Will Power really just laid it down, went straight on, full on, 100% from the get-go, and that paid off with the strategy they had in terms of tire management and fuel management and when to use the reds and when to use the blacks. It was a solid race, and it'll be interesting because we're going to have a green track. The rain that's come here today is going to clean a lot of the rubber off, and it's going to be interesting in qualifying once again. Those drivers, of course, getting set to go a little later on today. But we're looking forward to firing things up. I'm, as I said, just listening to the race control here, waiting for that 1 minute call to fire up these engines. We do say hello to those of you who have tuned in to the Road to Indy TV app or potentially on IndyPro2000.com. Hope that you're staying warm here on a nice Sunday morning. 9:08 actually is the actual time here trackside. Now these drivers up early into the paddock and ready to get at it. And again, this championship will take a little hiatus right now. We've jammed races in. We did Mid-Ohio at the end of July, straight to Lucas Oil Raceway for the Freedom 90. Listen to race control. Still 1 minute and holding. Still 1 minute and holding. Straight from Lucas Oil Raceway to Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway. Right from there on the Friday, Saturday, straight to a Thursday, Friday at Indianapolis. Now straight here for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we'll be off for a month before we get back at it at New Jersey Motorsports Park.
And then, of course, ending out the season down on the street race at St. Pete. So that should be a great way to wrap up the season. And like we say, lots of racing left to go, lots of points still on the table. I did the math last night, and like I say, 15 drivers are still mathematically in the hunt for the championship. So this is far from over. Devlin DeFrancesco only 28 points behind Stingray Robb, and with 33 points on offer for every race, that can evaporate in a hurry. So
yeah, Stingray Robb with 300 points even. We've got our lineup up here on our live timing here as well. Hunter McElroy most definitely in the hunt still, as is Manuel Suleiman. All right, being told 1 minute to the command, ladies and gentlemen, as we get set to fire things up here. These drivers all ready to take to what will be a challenging racetrack. And again, as I said, one of our guests from SURGERE, our sponsor of the event here this weekend, the SURGERE Indy Pro 2000 Grand Prix of Mid-Ohio, second race of the doubleheader. Roger Ritterbeck down on pit lane to get things underway. And again, listening in. Almost set to go. This is definitely going to be a close race. So we'll see which drivers are able to step it up, but you can be sure the opening lap will be one to watch. It's going to be exciting to see whether or not Manuel Suleiman can get the job done. But as I said, 14 drivers are on pit lane, and for the first time here in 2020, they'll tackle a wet racetrack. Again, down to pit lane right now for the call. Just waiting for the call here from race control. As Roger Ritterbeck, as I said, from SURGERE, ready to join me down here on pit lane. And ladies and gentlemen, let's do this here. Time to fire up these engines. Down to pit lane for the call and the command to start.
On behalf of everyone at SURGERE, drivers, start your engines.
Great job by Roger to fire these engines up. And you can see the mechanics pulling away. Their cars have come to life, signaling to the staff on pit lane that the cars are ready to roll. This is going to be an interesting start for sure. Championship should be a wild one.
And I would not be surprised if there are a few eyes in the IndyCar paddock keeping an eye on this race, just to kind of see what the track conditions are all about, because these IndyCar drivers are going to be qualifying in just about an hour from now. And the track is, I'm guessing, still going to be pretty damp when they come out. It'll be the first time they've run the aero screen in the wet, so it'll be interesting.
That's a very key point. We talked about that a little bit yesterday on the IndyCar broadcast. We have not yet run that aero screen in the wet. Could be today, but the thing is, as you said, it looks like the rain's still coming down.
Yep.
This is a 45-minute window. We talked about the window that we have, a 45-minute window. They've actually knocked it down to 35 minutes now because we've lost the time waiting here. So 35-minute window, and actually I'm watching live timing, the race going from 25 laps down to 20 laps, if that's indeed the case. I didn't get that from race control, but that's just what we have on live timing right now. It wouldn't surprise me with the shorter window. We'll go to a 20-lap race. But you're indeed correct, because, as you said, the IndyCar qualifying coming around the corner here. Check out these drivers here. Obviously, the lockdown camera we have up in the keyhole got a little bit of moisture on it for sure. But you can see a couple drivers have already driven off a little bit on the outside here. This is going to be a I'm going to say it's going to be a pretty slow start, because I just think drivers are going to be tiptoeing through turn number 2 for the first time.
Of course, tiptoeing is one thing, but then you wouldn't be surprised if somebody gets a little crazy, as we've got a car spinning on the parade lap already. Yeah,
Antoine Camo has gone around. That's the thing about the keyhole. We talk about this track, this corner, and how tough it is to get the power down. As you roll through turn number 2, it's downhill, off camber. And off camber means the car just wants to either push out or spin around super quick. So we'll give these drivers a couple laps to get a feel. This particular camera shot never looks like it's raining quite as much.
Yeah, for whatever reason, yeah.
But the rain definitely coming down here trackside still. And we talked about the fact that this particular cell, kind of more long in length, kind of potentially coming through. And we don't think it's going to be here come noontime. But here we are at 9:13. A couple of drivers pushing pretty hard to get a feel for it. And that's really what you have to do. Take the opportunity to really feel what's going to happen here. You can't just putt around. You got to use these sighting laps to really get a feel for where you want to be on the track when we do go racing.
And you'll see a lot of drivers experimenting to where the grip is, and it will be not on the normal racing line. With the rubber sort of ground into the asphalt, the actual racing line is slicker than offline. And so you'll find these drivers hunting for places around the track where they've got a little more grip than they would normally have under dry conditions. And you'll see them frequently going right around the edge. We call it rim riding, around the edge of the turns, because even though that's the long way around, that's where the grip is, and they can actually carry more corner speed.
You will see indeed that drivers will, of course, take a long entry line. Now, the thing is, when they go around the outside like that, that does open that inside, and people just get so greedy. They're like, I want it's open. I can find grip in there. I know I can do it. And they know they can't because, as we said, the oil and the water simply do not mix. That rubber does not mix with the water, so it's normally quite slippery. And these drivers all know this from their years in karting. So many of these drivers, of course, coming up through karting. Oh, a driver around. That's Daniel Frost. Has looped his car coming onto the front straightaway.
Right here in front of us.
Yeah, right in front of us. He'll back that number 68 Turn 3 Motorsports machine up. This is going to be so much about throttle modulation. It's not even funny, because you can just see that he just started to get on the throttle. Wow, this is going to be a challenging race for these drivers.
Sometimes you got to go slow to go fast.
That's it.
And that's tough. These drivers, most of them youngsters, they're looking for looking to make their mark, and they get impatient, and that comes with experience. And we'll see how it works out here. But there are definitely some treacherous spots on this racetrack.
I'm on the edge of my seat already.
Oh, me too.
This is not something we've seen.
Yeah.
And I think this is just going to be tremendous. And for me, again, to talk about the Road to Indy, this is a development series, trying to make sure these drivers are trained and ready to go to the NTT IndyCar Series. I love it when we get some rain racing, because these drivers need an opportunity to learn how to run on the rain.
Yeah.
Daniel Frost in the 68 getting himself back up to his grid spot.
So they are permitted to retake their grid spot?
They are indeed. Okay. So Manuel Suleiman and Stingray Robb in the front row, as we said.
Is that Camo?
That's someone getting hauled in. That's Corey Enders in the number 7. The reason why we haven't gotten to green, there's an issue with Corey Enders. They went and grabbed Corey, got him back on the racetrack. And we'll see who's going to be able to work their way around the outside. McElroy and Thompson on row 2. Frost and DeFrancesco row 3. De Oliveira and Enders row, Kaminsky and De Oliveira row 4. Camo alongside Enders on row 5. And then Petrov and Kaminsky row number 6. Abel and Finelli on row number 7. So an issue there with the 7 of Corey Enders came to a stop. He actually had to get hauled in here now by the AMR safety crew. You can just see these cars. The minute they start jumping on the throttle, the car just slips away.
Yeah, the rear end really twitchy.
Yeah, and again, I think you're right, John. We're going to see these guys going way to the outside of this racetrack to try to get that grip on the outside.
Of course, that takes the margin of error down to nothing.
Indeed.
If you get a little wiggle, you're going to have a wheel on the grass.
And a corner like this, coming through turn number 9, they'll very likely go outside. They cross over the grip on the inside to come back out to the inside of the racetrack.
Yep.
On the outside here is tough. Wherever the grip was, wherever the rubber was, is going to be slippery, and the paint on the outside of the rumbles
to be avoided at all costs.
It is absolutely slick.
Yep, to be avoided.
We'll see how things shake down here. As I said,
the good thing is, though, when they get up to racing, as long as the rain doesn't come back in earnest, these Cooper rain tires will pump a lot of this water up into the air, and the track will sort of self-dry as the cars were working through it. They're going to go one more lap behind the safety car in order to get Corey Enders back into a position of safety.
And indeed, 20 laps, so we've knocked it down. We're already on the clock right now. We've put that first lap, so we got one lap actually officially in the books. We're already on the clock right now. Session has started. It's down to a 35-minute race, so we already started the clock. We've already got a lap in, and we will go a single file start as well. We won't do the double file start. It'll be single file. They'll get that car of Corey Enders in here. They'll try to get it refired. So Corey has not yet got his lap. He'll get it when he comes back across here. If they're able to get that car fired up for him, he will not lose a lap. Not the storyline we would have expected, I think, coming into the morning, rolling in here, because it was still pretty dry on the track. The track was drying, actually, some overnight rain, and it was drying a little bit. I actually had a chance to hop in a two-seater ride today. That was a lot of fun with former Road to Indy driver Juan Pedrahita. And the track, there were wet spots. It kind of started to sprinkle a little bit as we got into the car. And then, of course, as John had said, the rain really started coming. This is going to be a very interesting event. This will be one of those turtle in the hair kind of things where the guy who stays on the racetrack doesn't make the mistakes, may not have the fastest race car, but it's going to get a really good finish, because just from what we're seeing here on these first couple laps, it looks very treacherous out there right now. Manuel Suleiman scoring the first win for himself, not only for himself, but for D-Force Racing as well. They get their first Road to Indy victory. It seemed almost certain yesterday. It looked like it was going to be Parker Thompson who was going to be able to grab that race win, but with the issue with the engine halfway through the race, expired coming up the front straightaway. John, you and I heard that unfamiliar but disgusting sound of an engine getting blown up. Coming up the front straightaway, he ended up just on the inside of corner number 1 with the engine expiring, and man, heartbreak for Parker to see his heartfelt video that he put out on social media last night. Just gutted for a kid that has done everything you could do to get yourself to the IndyCar program, even get yourself to Indy Lights, short of winning a scholarship to do so. Multi-time winner in USF 2000, multi-time winner in Indy Pro, and just has been so close to trying to win that championship in both categories. Just has not got a chance to get the scholarship yet to move to Indy Lights, and continues to do what he can to try to find the funding to move up. He's had some successful championships in sports car racing as well last year, doing a tremendous job running a number of different series in 2019. Parker Thompson from Red Deer, Alberta, Canada. Definitely with all the tools you would need to make him the next Canadian superstar. It's just opportunity is one of the things that a driver can't work on. You know, you can work on your driving, you can work on your speaking skills, you can work on your sponsorship skills, but you simply can't work on opportunity. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, sometimes it's just luck.
I think we're going to go green finally. There's Aaron Likens up in the stand there. Yeah, single file start, and we are now racing. Couple laps in the books, but we have a green flag, and we are racing here in Indy Pro 2000 in treacherous conditions here at Mid-Ohio. One driver off, and that's Suleiman. Oh, I think that's Suleiman off in turn number 1, the leader, straight off the racetrack in turn number 1 into the gravel. That's how treacherous it is. Suleiman pushing hard. Another driver off potentially there as well. That's Stingray Robb now going into the lead in the number 2 machine. Parker Thompson, I believe, up into second. Oh, slide there for Kaminsky coming into turn number 2. This is unbelievable. You almost got a couple drivers trying to stay to the inside just not to loop the cars around. So we have a driver off the racetrack over in turn number Turn number 2, and yeah, full course yellow coming out. That driver beached. So yellow coming back out already. That was unbelievable start. Manuel Suleiman racing into turn number.
It's Colin Kaminsky off of the.
It was Kaminsky. Yeah, I thought it was Kaminsky off. Here's the issue too for Suleiman. Being the driver in the front row, he didn't even need to push that hard going into the corner because he had the spray behind everybody else. They were going to stop anyways.
Yep.
But he just charged that corner, so that's moved Stingray Robb to P1, Parker Thompson up to second. See as they roll by here. Artem Petrov, I believe, to third. That's Jacob Abel coming by here, P4 now.
Well, that's a great start. Jacob was all the way back in the last row.
Yeah. Well, he took advantage of staying out of the trouble,
Yep.
not getting into the wreck for Kaminsky, not getting in the wreck with here's the replay. And here is Suleiman. And you're going to see him come straight off. Yeah, there was no chance he was making the corner. He came straight off the racetrack, tried to get on the brakes a little bit, straight off. We'll see if anybody else comes with him. There's Abel. He's staying out of trouble. Here comes Corey Enders from pit lane back out on track. There's the other Kaminsky. Well, back there's Antoine Comeau and Charles Finelli. They were wise just to stay way back. So Stingray Robb coming across the line as the leader. Parker Thompson goes to second. Petrov third. Ooh, that engine doesn't sound right. Another engine sounding like a dirt bike rolling by, so that could be another potential engine problem. Jacob Abel up into the 4th spot. 5th is Moises De Oliveira. You can see the AMR safety crew grabbing this other car that's off into the gravel there. We're getting to pull that car off, actually past the gravel. We can't see even which driver that is at this point. They're going to get that driver pulled out. That might be Antoine Comeau. I thought Comeau came through, but we'll see. AMR safety team working on that driver.
Yeah, so far we haven't seen Hunter McElroy, Devin DiFrancesco, or Colin Kaminsky. We know Colin Kaminsky is off.
That's okay. In turn number 2, that's the 19 of Kaminsky out in turn number 2. Trying to figure out where the other drivers went. So maybe turn 1 potentially DiFrancesco and Kaminsky as well. I'd rather and McElroy in turn number 1.
Yeah.
So that's the possible. We just can't see it from our camera angles. But it sounds like both McElroy and DiFrancesco off in turn number 1 as well. All the chaos and the driver who came in with the point lead is up front.
Yep.
Stingray Robb able to get through the opening lap and work his way into position. Got some more data coming in here from Steve Wittick from TSOladder.com and TracksideOnline.com listening to Race Control. Obviously, it's not something I can do trying to make the call here. Indeed, DiFrancesco off. The number 19 of Kaminsky able to get him back out and continuing. Not sure whether or not he'll be a lap back. But that'll put Stingray Robb right there behind the pace car. Parker Thompson to second, Petrov third, Abel fourth, and De Oliveira fifth. That doesn't help anybody trying to catch Stingray Robb as the point leader as he has worked his way to the front.
Yeah, Petrov was started back in row 6,
Yeah.
Abel in row 7. So both of them just keeping their nose clean and picking up the pieces here.
I wanted to say that I really believe that this was going to be, at least the first bunch of laps, were going to be super, super slow, where the drivers were just kind of literally feathering on the throttle to feel out where the grip level was. Obviously, Manuel Suleiman didn't get the read that he wanted on turn number 1 in those couple laps he came through because he barreled straight off as soon as they came down into the braking zone of 1. Yeah, car didn't even turn in. I'm sure he had a lot of wheel into it, but it wasn't turning at all.
Race control saying we're going to go red flag here.
There you go. All right, being told red flag. Yeah, Aaron Lyken's throwing that here at start finish. So maybe the call that the track right now not suitable for racing. Red flag, drivers will work their way back in. I'm sure that there was a lot of feedback coming from the drivers into their engineers as well, saying, "Hey, listen, we can't even get the power down here now."
Sure.
I'm thinking back to the last time that we may have had a race like this where drivers just couldn't do that. And I want to go back to, and I know I'm not going to get the year right. It was either maybe 14 or 15 at Toronto in the IndyCar race when they had just repaved Lakeshore Boulevard, which is the primary when the aggregate and the amount of pack they used, it was super, like the rain was not getting into the asphalt at all. It was just the drivers were literally what do you call it, aquaplaning everywhere down the back straightaway, and we had to go on red for a while until that rain kind of dissipated a little bit. So we indeed actually canceled that race and ran 2 main events on the Sunday in Toronto. So red flag at this point. We brought the cars here into pit lane. Let's have a look at the radar. John, you've been announcing a few races here. What do you think?
We're definitely on the back side of it.
Yeah.
The worst of the rain is definitely past, and we're just not long. I would say 15, 20 minutes away from being in the clear, and we'll begin to see brightening skies. And there doesn't appear to be any rain coming behind that little squall that's just moved through the track. So the situation will definitely be improving. It's still drizzling a bit here on the front straightaway, so it's adding to the woes these drivers are having to contend with. But they're still fishing some drivers out around the track, so that's another reason for the red flag. Not so much that the track is unraceable, but they want to give the safety workers optimum opportunity to get these cars back on track, as we've got somebody coming into the pit lane just now.
So I'll give you the full field rundown as they came back after the chaos of the opening lap. Stingray Robb with the lead, as we had said, able to get through as others had trouble. Parker Thompson into second. Artem Petrov in third, with he and Jacob Abel coming from deep in the field to work their way up to third and fourth. Moises de Oliveira in fifth. Daniel Frost sixth. Bob Kaminsky up to seventh. He started the very last row up to seventh, wisely tiptoeing his way around through the first lap. Antoine Camo in the eighth spot. Charles Finelli in ninth. Colin Kaminsky off in turn two, ends up 10th. Hunter McElroy, who went off in 11th. Manuel Suleiman, the pole sitter, coming to the first corner. Straight off, he's able to get back on, but he ends up in 12th. Devlin DiFrancesco, 13th. Corey Enders, of course, the issue in 14th. And thinking that as they come across the lap right now, will they get enough laps in? No, I think that both DiFrancesco and McElroy will now be a lap down as well, because, of course, they had to get fished out at turn number one with the AMR IndyCar safety crew. So
McElroy as well looks to be a lap down.
Both those drivers a lap down as well. 2 laps down for Corey Enders. Definitely a shakeup in the championship as they sit on pit lane. 307 points for Stingray Robb. His closest competition down Devlin DiFrancesco, 256 points. So it'll be 51 points the advantage for Stingray Robb as they sit, as I said. Of course, the Road to Indy staff and IndyCar, I'm sure, in discussion. Timeline for the IndyCar drivers coming out for their qualifying session as well. A lot of decisions on how to handle this right now. Clock is still running. 21 minutes remaining. Actually, no, pardon me. I'll reset that. Clock has stopped on this with this red flag. So
looks like about 14 minutes left, yeah.
Yeah, 21 minutes left. We did almost 14 minutes of the 35 we elected to go with, but we have stopped the clock with 21 minutes, 16 laps still on the duration of the race itself. Well, John, I'm sure that through your years here at Mid-Ohio, you've seen some rain, and you've seen this probably happen a couple of times.
It has happened a couple times. There's no question about it. And, we do run in the rain here, but there are situations where the track is just there's so much standing water, and it's just so treacherous that, the race control makes a wise decision to red flag the race, just to give the track a little time to settle in, for some of the standing puddles to drain off. The drainage here is pretty good around about 95% of the track. There are a handful of places where water will stay for a little longer time. One of them is where we saw Daniel Frost spin here on the front straightaway. Just as they come off of the carousel turn, there's a little depression or a undulation that water sort of accumulates in. It's just off the racing line, but if you drop a wheel into that, you can do it. There's the area under the bridge at turn number one, just as at the turn in for turn one, also stays wet a little longer than the other parts of the track. And then down at the bottom of turn 6, after you crest the hill at turn 5 and then head down to turn 6 in Thunder Valley, that's also a place where water will accumulate, and takes just a little bit longer to drain than it does some other places on the track.
As I recall, John, was it a couple years ago when you guys had a ton of rain, and wasn't Thunder Valley underwater for a while there?
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely.
I remember seeing pictures of that.
Yeah, we've had situations where we've literally had the track underwater. In places. Yeah. There's people don't realize there's 140 feet of elevation change at this track. The very high point is right at the turn in for the keyhole turn up at the top of the hill. The low point, of course, is down in Thunder Valley. They're under about where the walkover bridge is about the low point. So there's a big bit of vertical, and as you might guess, water runs downhill. So that's where it collects in that low spot.
I remember seeing those pictures on social media that hey, here's Thunder Valley in Ohio, and Lake Thunder Valley, I think it was at that point. Right. It was quite jarring. I'm like, wow, that's crazy.
Time for motorboat racing.
That's right. I'm sure they bring you out there, John, to call that for sure.
Yeah, oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah,
that's what you do,
right?
Yeah. So again, looking at the season here for the drivers here in Indy Pro 2000, again, the second rung of the Road to Indy. We really haven't talked a lot about what these drivers are racing for, and it's one of the things that sets the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires apart from any of the other ladder programs around the world, and that's the scholarship program. If you win the Lucas Oil School of Racing, their Formula Car Series, they're a partner of the Road to Indy and Cooper Tires, you win a $75,000 scholarship to move into the USF 2000 program. If you were the champion, as Braden Eves was last year in Indy Pro 2000, the scholarship worth over $350,000 to move, even more than that now. I think they've increased it actually for this year, over $400,000, I believe, into the Indy Pro 2000 category. All of these drivers here are trying to go to Indy Lights, and it is now essentially a full scholarship to move to the Indy Lights program, almost $1 million to be able to move to Indy Lights in 2021. So each of these drivers know that they're racing for an opportunity to take that next step. We all know how expensive racing is, and there are a number of drivers who have been able to put together partners, investors. Some, of course, have the family money to be able to make the step there, and that's what fuels racing. But we've seen so many drivers, John, who would never have had the opportunity had it not been for the scholarships. Spencer Piggott being one of them. Braden Eves will tell you that there was a very unlikely chance that he would have run the entire Indy Pro 2000 series this year, maybe some handful of races. But without that scholarship, he wouldn't have been here full time.
Sure, Kyle Kirkwood's a perfect example. He's another kid from modest means down in Florida, and he's all throughout his racing career and whatever series that he's raced in, he's been able to win championships and move on. And it's a perfect example of. If you want to get the attention of the right people, you got to win races, but you also have to groom yourself and groom your presentation to attract sponsors and do whatever's necessary. But the scholarship program that continues here in the Road to Indy, as well as some other support series around the country, is just so essential for these drivers to have the opportunity to move up. It gives them real incentive to win a lot of races.
And it's really interesting. You bring up Kyle Kirkwood's name. What's so interesting, of course, the Road to Indy, USF 2000, Indy Pro. Let's have another quick look at this is the weather that has gone through. John had said we'd already missed that big cell, so we're really at the tail end now of this rain cell that's coming through. A little bit, another one, a little bit more to the left there potentially, but that's we can handle that. As long as the standing water is away that we can go racing, we should be fine. But you talk about Kyle Kirkwood, what he's been able to do, of course, won the USF 2000 championship, moved into Indy Pro with RP Motorsport Racing, won that championship last year in a close battle at the very end of the season, got into a good run of winning some races. But then you look at him potentially going to Indy Lights this year, set up, ready to go with Andretti Autosport. He's going to Indy Lights Racing. That program goes on hiatus for 2021 with COVID-19 shutting things down, not allowed to have people at the track. A lot of the Indy Lights sponsors are trackside. It's more like IndyCar, where the package you put together for your partners has a lot of hospitality and trackside support and having people at the racetrack. So Kyle on the hook on the side. He's still got that scholarship he's going to use. The winner here, the champion here this year, is going to move to Indy Lights next year with a scholarship, and as well through Honda, the Formula Regional Americas champion is going to come to Indy Lights as well. So we talk about the top level of the Road to Indy Lights, and hey, how's it going to be next year? Well, it's going to be stacked with talent. That's pretty much what I say. There's a lot of guys just waiting for the announcement from IndyCar saying, this is what we're doing, this is how we're going to handle it, we're going racing. A potential for a couple of new teams. Exclusive Autosport was supposed to make their debut this year. We expect to see them back in 2021. I know they'll be back for sure. Nikita Lastishkin, their driver, telling me that he's going to be back next year. Looks like we're firing the engines back up. But next year, with the amount of scholarships that are coming in, again, from Indy Pro 2000, from last year with Kyle Kirkwood, from Formula Regional Americas this year, who we think is going to be potentially Linus Lindqvist because, man, he's looked good over there. He won every race this year, hasn't he?
He has won every race so far.
So, let's get ready for that, folks.
No kidding.
Another tremendous driver. Oh, hold on. No, this is what I'm being told right now. We're going to race this event later today.
Oh, okay.
It sounds to me like, and I'm not on race control right now, just getting some information coming in to me that they're saying that this race is going to be postponed to later in the day. So again, knowing the time limit is getting tight, knowing that we have to be, again, getting set up for IndyCar.
Yep.
Indeed. So this race has been postponed. We do have the time to do that. That's one of the things. IndyCar going at 1 o'clock. They'll be done probably around 3 o'clock. Then, of course, we'll be able to get going after that for Indy Pro 2000. So there you go, folks. Those of you watching live here on Road to Indy TV or on IndyPro2000.com, official call coming down, sending the teams back into the paddock area. They will run later on today. We'll try to get you an official time when that comes out. Other than that, John, next up on the docket will be qualifying for NTT Indy IndyCar Series.
Rob, thanks for being with us. It was fun. It was fun while it lasted.
Indeed.
Yeah. So I don't know if they're going to do. Are they going to do a total? We don't know that. If they could do a total restart, they could pick up where they left off.
I'll find out for sure. I'll go back and talk
to
to race control. We'll find out what's going to happen there. But yeah, USF 2000 set to go likely on schedule between IndyCar qualifying and the IndyCar race. But for those of you who don't want to be in the traffic after IndyCar, we've got a show for you. There you go. Indy Pro 2000 later this afternoon.
Thanks, Rob. Rob Howden, voice of the Road to Indy. He'll be back with us for...
It's me, your Uncle Cooper, and this is a Cooper tire. Great tire. Now, it's not going to cook you a pot roast, but it will stop when you hit the brakes. And these truck tires can stop on average 10 feet shorter than other tires on a wet road. See, the trick is in the grip, and these tires grip like my handshake. Look, I'm your uncle. I love you. I want you to stop when you need to. Doesn't matter if it's for a red light or a duckling. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! And never start something you can't stop.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
Poor visibility, lack of data, antiquated systems, so many roadblocks in your supply chain on your way to the finish line. Just like in racing, the right data can give you a competitive edge. SURGERE is here to save your supply chain, utilizing IoT technology, layered with high-fidelity data to create actionable insights and drive success across many aspects of your organization. Now that's a winning idea. SURGERE, intelligent supply chain through IoT.
Welcome to Road to Indy TV. Download the app to watch live and get access to exclusive content all season long.